Thank you, committee. Welcome to Community Committee for March. We're going to go with the agenda item for one. Apologies for any absences.
Yeah, so Councillor Irene Fazy and Councillor Jill Rose have sent their apologies. They're both not very well.
Agenda item number 2 is to note any declarations of members' interests.
I'm, as a member of Churches Together in Crewe, I'm involved in the proposal for community fridges and also the Crewe befriending service.
Befriending, okay. Anyone else? Non-pecuniary interest? No?
And I can give you an update when we get to that point on.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
I mean, just as for safety, it may not be relevant, but for the Ghost Riders, I was involved in getting them some support from some of their infrastructure. It's not relevant to any of this.
Shall I put it on anyway then? Just yeah. So then why Ghost Riders? Okay.
To confirm and sign the minutes of the community committee meeting held on the 21st of January 2025. We've got a proposer, and seconder is Dennis. Proposer was Beth.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry, Councillor Marie.
Would you be able to please just sign immediately under there, and then again on the other side? Thank you. And then right under there, prior to it. So, okay.
All good with those minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
Moving on to item number 4, it's public participation appears exceeding 15 minutes from members of the public. Have we got any questions?
No, we haven't. Nothing this evening.
And nobody in the public gallery?
No, nobody.
Okay, so we can move on to item number 5. Item number 5 is to review the year-to-date financial positions for the community committee. Go ahead, Jackie.
So this is a record that obviously is kept that correlates with our accountants. Sometimes it's a little behind because they do what they do every couple of weeks, and my figures are more accurate at this point, but by the time we get to year end they'll all correlate, so I have no issues with these figures. They're correct as far as I'm concerned. So can we just
anybody from the floor?
Are we all happy to note that?
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah. Enough proposer. Dennis and Sally for minutes.
Thank you. Okay. Do you want me to do the last thing once you've done it?
Moving on to item number 6. Yes. To consider the matters related to the grant applications received by 6.1 is Cheshire Ghost Riders Youth Skills Project, and the amount they're requesting and asking for is 2,500. Councillor Clark.
Yes, I've got a query regarding the figures that have been submitted. If you look at the breakdown of the figures, which is what the funds will be used for, the actual project adds up to 2,430. Their match funding is 1,43750, which leaves a balance of 992.50. And for that would be the support for 9 young people. Now, I do support this scheme, and it's unfortunate that the figures are on that one, but I've seen what they've been doing at Ghost Riders, and they are tackling lots of antisocial behaviour by bringing young people off the street to these sessions. And if I would like to put a proposal to the committee that actually, because as we've just seen in our accounts, there is 6,000 balance plus in our grants funding, and this is our last round of funding for this financial year, that we actually propose to support 18 young people, and that would give a total of giving a grant of £1,985 to the organisation to support 18 young people.
Okay.
Councillor Graham first.
I think this is an excellent project,
Mm.
and I second Councillor Clark's
Thank you.
proposal.
Councillor.
Just to clarify, so that would be 18 rather than 9?
Yes. Yeah.
So to double.
Yeah, to double,
so can we have a
basically,
proposer
yeah.
in a second?
So we've got a proposer as.
Yes, so
Sorry, Councillor.
I'm just intrigued where it says who will benefit from this funding. It says thousands.
Yeah, they do clarify
Yeah,
that.
they do break that down. There's
Yeah.
if you,
They changed it to
60 from thousands.
if you go to page 7, you'll see that they do break that down. And I think what they failed to say when they came back with 60 is it's the parents of the children, the grandparents of the children, all the volunteers, everybody who gets involved. So
It's
they've
the
put-
ripple effect. isn't
yeah,
it?
they put thousands, and I've queried that.
Yeah, I can see where they would say
Yeah.
thousands
Yeah,
because
it's such a
actually
good project.
it's taking people off the street who are causing antisocial
Yes.
behaviour.
Yeah.
So it's that number of people who are affected by the antisocial behaviour. So
Yeah.
the number of people who,
Yeah.
you know, if they're vandalising a park, how many people pass through
Yeah.
that park?
Yeah.
So I can understand why they sort of, you know,
They said that.
romanticise it.
Yeah.
Into being
Explain
thousands.
Now you've
Yeah.
explained it, I can when I
Yeah.
first thought, I thought,
Yeah.
how many kids are
Yeah.
they getting there?
Well,
Yeah.
we were the same, and then obviously when we asked them, they
Yeah.
did clarify. That's my
Okay.
husband.
Councillor Hogman.
Volunteers' time, are the volunteers paid? Because it's
No.
don't
No,
understand
No,
why
it's
it says-
equivalent of.
Oh, the equivalent of.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they've used it as like indirect match funding, volunteer time. So it would
Alright.
cost them that much if they didn't have the volunteers.
Oh, I see.
So we need a proposer for this then.
So I've got a proposer in
Sorry.
Councillor Clark and a seconder in Councillor Graham. Is the committee all in favour for passing this
Yeah.
down
Yep, so that's
and the
approved.
alteration to it?
Yes.
So can I just, for the minutes, so it's approved, all in favour, 1985 to fund 18 children instead of 9. Yeah, thank you. Just also to point out that Lizzie Jolly filled this application in, and at the end of it, she'd put that she'd applied before, which is completely different project entirely. We funded some bike lights for crew directly to the police, and she just got a bit confused. So disregard that, please.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's not them.
No, at all. No, she's done a great job.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, moving on to
6.2.
6.2 is the gymnastics. Remember rightly?
Page 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
Page 15. Page 15, yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. Don't worry.
Page 15. On page 15, yeah. Crew and Nantucket Gymnastics Community Activities Centre, Pam Street, who are also applying for 2,500.
So again, these figures are not quite right. There is some discrepancy. That's all
Okay,
right.
Councillor Clark.
yeah, again with this application, I just feel we need to go back to them, and they've kindly given us quotes, specifications, but it's unclear which actually they are actually going, which system they're going for, and they do sort of vary in price from £2,160 up to £3,511 to £4,567. So the question I would have is which scheme are they actually intending to actually put into them, and if, how they're going to fund the balance?
Yeah.
Because if we're only giving them 2,340
Yeah.
towards it,
Yeah.
if that was 4,567, how are they actually going to be
Yeah.
funding the rest of the scheme?
I
So I don't feel I can actually sort of
Yeah.
approve something that not knowing actually how our money's going to be spent and what it's
I
going to
can
be spent towards.
Understand completely what you're saying. I think what's happened here is it's really probably just an experience in filling in the application correctly. What they've done clearly is just added 20% of 2,500 on to make a £3,000 grand total, when in fact it should have been 4,916, and they should have showed the difference figure, but they didn't. If members are minded to, you could delegate the decision to the officer and chair, and I could go back to them to find out the information. If we say no to this, if we defer it, then this money goes back into reserves and it has to come out of next year's pot, which is why I'm keen to either decline it or delegate the decision to officer and chair. and I'll find out all the information which I'll take notes of now that members require. And then if I'm happy that they fulfil that, the things that we're after, then we could agree to fund it with Councillor White.
Yeah, Councillor White.
So I think it'd be worth either getting a plan or a visit to the place, because I know the building quite well.
Okay.
I assume they're talking about the Lord Street entrance, which is where the gym is.
Right. Yeah.
There is another door where the cars park,
Yeah.
which mainly the children come in through. And I can see the sort of separating out the semi-public gym area
Yeah.
with the children's entrance. As I read this doesn't do that. So
Right.
if you could find out which door they want to secure,
Okay.
is it the door close to the main entrance on Lord Street, or is it right at the other end? It's
Close to main.
Yeah, this is where the quotes
Oh,
go into
okay.
details with
Lord
for
Street.
which.
So
Yeah.
close to the main entrance on Lord Street, or what was
or
it?
is it the entrance on Mill Street?
On Mill Street. Okay. And which one would be preferable? Because I don't know the building.
If they're staffing the desk on Lord Street,
Yeah.
they might as well close off the Mill Street one completely. Make
Okay.
everybody walk around.
Okay. I'll find out some. So
Councillor Edwards.
They've also here are looking to spend over £600 on an IT upgrade. I'm just wondering if they could provide further details of that.
yeah, ask for that certainly.
That sounds quite an expensive bill for an IT.
I think that perhaps, as Councillor Wires just suggested, a visit to have a look at it. Either I could go or you could go if you know.
I'd be happy to come.
If I get more information out of it, and we could perhaps go along and just see exactly, so that we've got a clear view of it, and that at least we've got member support, and then it can be delegated to chair and officer to
Are you
decide.
okay with
We
doing the
both
visit
go,
as well? We could
if
both
we're-
go if I can work it around.
Yeah.
Me too, yeah.
And then perhaps.
Okay, well I'll talk to you both tomorrow about that, and I'll get back to them. But for now, then it's delegated to chair and officer, subject to this criteria being fulfilled. Okay, that's fine.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
And you'd be, just to be clear, just for the minutes, you'd be happy to go up to the £2,500 if they can detail the match funding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2.5 if the match funding steps up.
Yeah.
6.3.
6.3, be well, stay well. Be well, course times 2. Looking for 1,916. It's Councillor Graham.
I take it they were provided with the guidance notes.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely. I mean, the guidance notes are on our website for all to see.
Yeah.
If somebody comes to me and asks for information on a grant, they're told to look at the guidance notes and fill out an application if they fit the criteria.
The majority of this
Mhm.
is what we would call core costs,
Yeah.
which we don't fund.
No.
There's room rental, insurance and fees, websites, domain maintenance, Zoom fees, social media support and post, and staff training. All of that is core costs.
Yeah, which we don't fund. They did tick the box. I've read the guidance document, but unfortunately,
And DBS checks.
we don't fund those
not
either.
fundable.
No.
Publicity would be the flyers and stationery. but-
Yeah. So that we could potentially look at that section
Yeah.
of it because that's relevant to us. But so, what are you proposing, Councillor Clark?
I would propose that we give them a grant of £50, which is the balance of what when we take off everything that Councillor Graham has just said that we don't fund. So which is in the last line, so which is £150, but 100 of that is staff training, so that leaves £50.
For stationery.
Yeah, which is a
Flyers and
shame for them.
stationery.
But
Oh, that's a bit of a shame.
so, yeah, what is it? But okay, so
So we've got a proposer. We need a seconder. Councillor Graham. Is committee all in favour of the
Yeah.
Yeah,
£50?
Yeah.
approved £50.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that's it for end of year grants.
Yeah, so It's a little bit left in the pot.
There's a little bit left in the pot.
Yeah. So okay. So agenda item
Uh,
7.
Agenda items number 7 is to provide an end of grant update to members regarding groups funding by a small grant scheme within the last financial year.
So South Cheshire class, we funded them through the grant scheme last year, and it's common practice. As soon as the grant money runs out, I ask them to give me some evaluation. It appears to me that they've spent the money really wisely. It's been a really, really successful project. I'm going out to see them in about 2 weeks to go and have a look round. And it's one of those that I feel that it's been so successful that I'd want to consider it for future meetings for potential funding, not through the grant scheme. They really are. And, I know that it's done really well. I know that funding is important to them. They can't come back for a grant. They've done a lot of hard work. So it might be that in the next meeting, I'm asking members to consider some funding for them, subject to what I think when I go out there. It's just really a noted one that. And then they also sent through they broke it all down, which is brilliant as well. They give great feedback, which is great for us. They use our logo, brilliant for us. And then they also just sent through their annual impact review, which I just included just for members to look at because I thought it was quite impressive. It's obviously not all to be read now, but it was an impressive read, I felt. It's one of those that, sometimes you give money and you just think that's gone really well and that's benefited a lot of people. Any questions on that before we move on? Okay. No, those are noted.
That's noted then by committee. Any others? No.
So agenda item 8.
Agenda item 8 is to provide the update to members on the progress of the business delivery plan 2024.
So this is just finishing off on everything, pretty much everything I've been working on throughout the year. I give evaluation throughout the year as it comes in, so you've already seen a lot of it, and there's some that's been included here that I've recently got, so I've included stuff that I didn't have in time before. Again, really positive stuff. The Wishing Well Supported Adults has just done brilliantly with the money. I go out there quite regularly. I know Dawn does as well, and they've just done amazing things with the money that we give them, and so many people are benefiting from it, the supported adults and their families, and it fills in quite nicely. The same with the friendship groups and lunch clubs, which again come from Wishing Well but Jubilee House. Brilliant evaluation and breakdown on page 70, which is all the sessions that are delivered. This is great for us because we use it in our wheel and our stats. And I'm working at the moment on breaking it all down, how many people have benefited from every bit of funding. So this is really good. Period dignity and crew, as people know, Motherwell, Her Place are all over that, and more is being done. We also fund them for the wellbeing sessions, which is really gaining some traction as well, and that's all going very well. So there's a breakdown there. The Dove service, which provides the bereavement support, again, this is one that we initially funded through the grant scheme. It's done great things. Lots of people are benefiting, and the evaluation comes in always positive. So that's just giving us an idea. Community awards and networking events. This was something that Rosie, the events manager, did together. The first year we'd ever done it, it went really, really well. It turned into much more than just an award ceremony. It was a networking event. People commented that they just didn't know. I didn't know that about them, and I learned loads too. It was a really good event, and we will now be making that an annual event to recognise the pillars of our community.
It had a real feel.
It was lovely.
Yeah, it's
really, really lovely, and
people were impressed with one another's groups.
They were, and in the middle of
People are asking how can they nominate for.
Yeah, I've had it already.
So and so should be get the kind of approval.
I've had it as well. Someone said, "Can I nominate such and such?" I was like, but also in the middle of it all, we had a an abuse disclosure that came to me, and Alpha Omega were there, and I was able to connect the person that disclosed the problem because she knew my connection with White Ribbon. Can I just talk to you? And of course, it was great because Alpha Omega WPS were there, and I was able to introduce them, step back, and they've worked their magic and are now helping us. So that was a real positive from that event as well. So twinning, I've removed. Sorry, of course you can.
Do you think were you happy with the amount of nominations there were? Or
So it was the first year. No, not technically, but I think that had a lot to do with timing. Because it was Christmas and it was an event that we squeezed in on a really busy schedule. Whereas this year now we know that we're
It needs to go out earlier.
Yeah,
I think it needs to be sort of
Yeah.
October.
Yeah,
With a
get it in before
deadline
Christmas.
at the end of the year,
Yeah,
and then
deliver them. Which is
do
Rosie
that.
and I have already kind of
Yeah.
talked about that because it just was the timing of it. But this was like squeezed it in, and we kept pushing it back, and in the end we were
Yeah.
oh, so it wasn't ideal.
Now
because,
it's the template, just put it out.
yeah, and it just
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
It just worked so well.
Stuff.
You'll see on page 81 twinning. I've removed the twinning funding application for next year. We normally allocate £1,000, but they haven't asked for anything despite us contacting them and offering help. So I've removed it, and if they come back to us, then we can deal with it on an ad hoc basis. I don't want to allocate £1,000 that they're not going to use.
Fair enough, yeah.
Food in Crewe. So I went to, as many members did, the Food Alliance meeting on the 30th of Jan, which was really good because Changing Lives Together were there, who are, of course, coming to Crewe. And they did a little presentation and met with some of the other food groups who are very nervous about them coming to Crewe. So that was positive. One of the things that came up was, so in the Caritas Centre, which is where the meeting was, they have a community fridge. And one of the things that came up is, how well it's doing. And this fridge is all about, not just about, homeless themselves. It's about, we are trying to stop food waste, and there's lots of it. So we had £3,000 left in Sustaining Network of approved funding. So I've allocated the £3,000 unless any member has any real objection to it. That will be given to Churches Together and Becky Hurst, who are going to work together to get 3 or 4 locations in the town centre. On the fridge, our branding will be all over all fridges. There'll be a little timetable. So on a Monday it's here, on a Tuesday it's there, on every fridge. And we will fund the fridges, and they're going to set up a network of volunteers to collect the food, deliver the food to the fridges, and we need 1 volunteer in each outlet, if you like, to manage it and make sure there's no out of date food. But what we're trying to do is reach the people in the middle, so the people who are perhaps working but are struggling. There's no shame. This is all about you helping us to stop food waste. So there was 3k left in Sustaining Network, which we'd approved if in case there was any kind of big issue or really freezing winter. And I just thought it was a perfect opportunity to spend that 3,000. So,
Councillor Clark.
I just wanted to ask, because I was at that Food Alliance meeting,
yeah.
and that they're actually not just fridges, they're fridges and freezers.
Fridges and freezers. So I'll let Sally.
Yeah, because what came out from the Countryside Alliance, that they were giving away a lot of meat, venison products and things, but it was all frozen. So, and Becky was saying that, and most of them were saying, we can't take that because we haven't got freezers.
So
but
there'll either
a lot of meat that could have been used.
There'll either be one big central freezer so we can put things in.
With a small freezer.
Or I'll let Sally, because it's Sally's Churches Together.
It's proposal here.
Page 82.
There are 2 options that have been considered, or we've considered. It's a fridge including a small freezer compartment with a glass front, and we thought having a glass front was important so people see that all was there stocked. At each location. Or a fridge including a small freezer compartment with a glass front at each location and a large chest freezer at one location. The idea being that from the large chest freezer, the small freezers
Can be
in the corner being restocked.
Brilliant.
It was positive.
Sorry,
Sorry,
just
go on,
one
Joanna.
question.
Yeah.
Just to ask that on the location side, obviously, powering fridges and freezers isn't cheap. So are we making sure that these organisation locations are willing to, got the funds to actually sustain switching them on and keeping them on.
I don't know how expensive they are to run once they've reached temperature.
I think if you buy new ones, I know there was some
They are quite
suggestions.
efficient,
Yeah,
aren't they?
there was some suggestion
Yes,
that we
it's
might
still-
be able
it's still
to.
a cost.
Yeah.
It is a
Additional-
cost, yeah,
additional
yeah,
cost, and I just want to make,
Yeah.
they're not going to switch them off
The
in 12 at a
majority
time.
of these proposed locations are all part of churches together, so
Yeah.
I would imagine that
Yeah.
there wouldn't be any issues.
Yeah. But I think at the moment it's what I asked Sally and Becky for was a proposal that we could get in front of members. We have the funding, they have the resources, and it was a case of, this will probably take 2 or 3 months to get going,
Yeah.
but the allocated funding will be invoiced.
Yeah.
And of course, Sally and Becky will keep talking to me and I'll keep members informed.
So that. I
Yes.
think it's really good that it's about food waste, not
Yes.
food poverty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
That's
when I visited in Northwich, there was some fancy cars turning up with eco people wanting to reduce food waste. I just
Right,
thought it was
which is
really-
amazing, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
switches it around. It's
Yeah.
It's not a thing to feel bad about. We want to encourage.
Well,
the message,
absolutely.
so-
I think there's a real gap in crew for something like this. I think there's plenty of support if you need it. And then there's the people that are at work perhaps and they don't want to go to a food bank because they don't think they need it, but they actually do need some help. So it's a dignified way of accessing
Takes the
food.
stigma away, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that really is just to be noted, and there's no voting needed on that one. So just moving on, as you can see, I've just updated on what we spent money on here. I've also included a part on page 83 of a rewrite of the community strategy. So this doesn't need voting on, but I just wanted to get some thoughts down and get a plan down because it is something that I'm going to have to be looking at in detail in the early part of the next financial year. So you can see that I've gone through and put, define the purpose and the vision, engage with the community, identify key themes and priorities, develop action plans, create a comms plan, implementation, collaboration, monitor and evaluate. I've literally just gone through and listed all the things that I think we need to do as a committee to enable this this community strategy document. I think that it would be because I want to start on the bottom and I want to engage with members. I don't think it's necessary always to have these conversations when we're having a formal committee meeting. I think what we need to do is form a steering group and perhaps just have a couple of meetings where we can just talk informally about what we all see the priorities are, brainstorm really, have lots of ideas. I'll obviously do all the notes for it and collate all the information.
I was actually going to suggest that we have a full committee workshop
Okay.
on each of it and
Yeah.
go through it,
Call it.
sticky notes
You
and
will.
stuff, so that we actually, and then from that perhaps we
Yeah.
go into then a smaller
Yeah.
task force, but so we're
Yeah.
all sort of taking ownership of it and looking
So
at each of the themes.
if I organised a committee workshop, which I'll send out invitations to, maybe kind of. When are you back from? You're on holiday, aren't you? When are you?
Yeah, I'm back from the 14th of April.
So towards the end of April, if I had a workshop where it wouldn't be a formal recorded meeting, but I will get it minuted, where we can just look at everything and just open it up and start to discuss it. Exactly what do we want from this? How does it feel? How does it, because for me, I've got to factor in the workload. Pete has allocated a £20,000 earmark reserve for this, but that's further down the line. That's when, and we'd obviously go out to tender for that to get somebody to write the document. Potentially, it might not come to that. It might be that we can do a bit of it ourselves, but he wanted to put it in so that
20 years experience of writing community
Yes.
development strategy.
But you know what it's like. He likes to have everything covered.
So the document is just an update or
No, it's a full.
It's going to be a full rewrite.
So as you know, we did a new corporate strategy last year. So the plan is that we bring this in line with the corporate strategy. So the first one will be for 3 years. Be in line with the corporate strategy and reviewed every 4 years. But I just think it makes sense to tie it in, doesn't it?
So is committee happy with having a working group of full committee members to start with, just to work on this document? Councillor,
I jumped a little bit when you said we set aside 20 grand to write the policy. Can I ask that there's obviously that's only setting aside, it's not spending on it,
Yeah.
but I think we need to think about ways of reducing cost and waste
Of course,
as we do
yeah.
this as
Yeah,
well, and
yeah.
using people's expertise and cutting down the actual office printing stuff
Yeah, yeah.
as well.
And I think, you know, engaging with the community, that is going to be time consuming, and we have to find a way of getting in all the information. That's lots of meetings. So Pete just put a figure in as an EMR. There's also, perhaps not for discussion now, but we also, just to plant the seed, have the John McBride Trust money, which potentially we could draw on that potentially, but that's a conversation for another day. But we threw that in sort of last thing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah.
So that's really just noted. That's just basically finishing off what I've been doing this year.
Your business plan.
Yeah. So business review plans. That's
So-
noted. Any more questions on that one?
I think chair and committee need to thank Jackie for all the work she's put in
Thank
this
you.
year.
Thank you,
Uh,
guys.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
just reading that document out there proves it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Much work she puts in.
I think we all do a lot, don't we, here? But so then if you go to page 89, this is my business delivery plan for next year, so from April onwards, and it really mirrors what we've already been doing. So we have SLA, service level agreements, that are, a lot of them are 3 years, some are in year 1, some are in year 3, some are in year 2. So some of those do naturally just roll over. The Barrio Fiesta is one that I've added in. We did fund them last year £1,000 out of the EDI allocation. That was a hugely successful event, and it was wonderful to see just everybody collaborating together, and there were all different nationalities and everybody. It was brilliant. So I would love to fund that again, but I actually would love to give them a little bit more than £1,000. I proposed 1,500 at this moment in time, because I feel as if we want to include more groups. That's going to increase their numbers, therefore increase their security costs, their first aid costs. So I'd like to propose that we give them 1,500 instead of 1,000, because I just think it's not a lot of money for a lot of benefit, and it's so inclusive that it's, you know, a positive event for us.
And then just on that one,
Councillor White.
is it feasible to ring fence some of that for comms, or can we take some of the advertising for it on
I'd have to check that with
as a separate thing? Because one of the frustration was, I was there and it was really, really good,
yeah.
but there's people walking through the park, as they always do
Yeah.
on every event. I
Yeah.
didn't know this was the same as the art space.
It was their first ever event. I think
Yeah.
a chat with them about that, whether or not our comms officer has the capacity to take on even more, is another.
Yeah.
I'd have to speak
to make
to
it very
Clark
clear
about
that this is a festival for local people.
that. Yes, yeah. Well, it was for local people, and they had people travelling from all over.
Yeah.
I kind of saw that as a good thing as well, because
was,
people were coming
bringing
in
people
to
in.
Crewe and looking at Queen's Park, which is beautiful, and it represented Crewe
And
pretty
there was
well.
a number of those people who had come from Manchester who were actually stopping in our travel lodges
Yes,
and
yeah, and
Yeah.
using our shops and the
our
market hall.
facilities.
And,
So
yeah,
it brought income into the area.
Yeah.
But by those, there was groups who had come up from London
yeah,
for the festival. So
yeah.
they were stopping locally. So
Okay, so you can see that a lot of these are going into year 2, year 1. So we've already got agreements for these. The other thing that I added was for LAF. So last year, LAF came to us twice to ask for funding, £500 for shoes and coats. So £500 for shoes, and then another £500 for coats, which drip feeding is not good for us or for them, because it's obviously work. So I put in that we should give them £1,000 under an SLA, which give them, they couldn't come back for any more. We're going to give it to you. It encourages sustainability for us and for them. We know where we're going with it, and it's good for us to support those things. So I think they'd be absolutely delighted if members are happy for us to go back and give them that money. But I've made it quite clear to them that if it is approved, you can't keep coming back for a little bit more. That is what we'll give you. And I'll probably do it in 2 £500 chunks and give it to them. So Youth Federation is another one that Councillor Rhodes proposed that we did this. We gave them a grant, and that it's brilliant activity. And Councillor Rhodes said, look, this is the sort of thing that if the grant goes well, I'd like to look at funding it for 3 years. So I put it on there. It's great value for money, 2,400 per year. So we'd be committed for 3 years. It's great for them because, of course, they know what they've got coming in and they can deliver the event even better than they do already. Any questions on that?
Councillor Edwards.
So could you remind me what about Cheshire Fire King's Trust? What type of?
Okay, so that was the Prince's Trust, and Cheshire Fire, so I keep calling it Prince's, I had to change it at the last minute to King's. And Cheshire Fire run the scheme in Crewe every year, and they get various donations, and they ask us for £900 of it. And every year they come back and ask, and I have to say you can only ask every other year because it's a grant scheme, but it's such a valuable thing. I thought I'd like to put that in as well, because it saves them keep applying.
I've had the honour and the privilege this year to go to 2 of their passing out parades, if you like, and the stories of those young people and what they achieve and what they get from that scheme far outweighs the £900. So it's if you Sally, when you go next year, take your tissues. Because honestly, it is, you hear the stories from Crewe and Macclesfield and Norwich usually at the event, and it is more than worth it.
And then the other thing that we've done, so we in November 2023 we became White Ribbon accredited, and members have finally helped pop up in various places to arrange to raise awareness. And I've always felt that it was our job to enable the community. We set it up, we are the accredited party, but the time had come for more specialist female support. So we have partnered with Her Place, formerly known as Motherwell, who will focus now on safe spaces in Crewe. The steering group, we've managed to add to it quite considerably since our last meeting. We meet quarterly. We're going to be looking at play spaces in Crewe, looking at the bus station, looking at the train station. Aviva are now on our steering group and are also White Ribbon accredited. Going along to Crewe Alex, who are also White Ribbon accredited, and just collaborating and bringing it all together at quarterly meetings. We fund 3 male mental health support groups from this committee. So Wilderness Tribe have now joined. He will join as an ambassador, and he will come along and represent males because it starts with men. So this charity is specifically about ending violence against women by men. So male support is as important as female support, but Kate Motherwell, Her Place, whatever you want to call it these days, will be taking over and collaborating and using all her networking to get it off the ground for us. So really chuffed about that. I haven't asked members for any money to give to Kate. I have done an SLA for Her Place that defines the responsibilities of each party. But what we decided to do was we have £2,500 a year to support White Ribbon from this committee. We're going to keep it in-house for the first year, and we will keep control of all the marketing. If there are any ad hoc expenses, we'll obviously fund it out. If they wanted to pop up somewhere and there was costs involved, it would come in as a request through the steering group, and then we're just going to keep the reins for a year. But I've no doubt that it's going to take it on to that next level. So it's been quite a lot of work, but it all feels like it's been worth it. So you can see if you go to page 100 that I've just put in exactly where I propose that the money goes. I've left some unallocated so that we can deal with things as they pop up. But you'll see that the well-being pot is pretty much allocated to 55,000. So it leaves 5k unallocated, but then there's other unallocated amounts as well in other pots. The EMR doesn't come out of the community budget at the moment. It's an earmark reserve which will come from reserves if we draw down from it, whether it's 5 or whether it's 20. Who knows? Any questions on that?
Questions on that, Councillor Edwards?
It's great to see that we're still supporting libraries.
Yeah.
And that isn't anticipated to increase then.
Well,
Very, very slightly, I see from.
yeah, so a very slight increase has gone on for the libraries. They do provide 6 monthly evaluation, which I did provide on the last agenda. This is something that, even though it sits on this committee, has been dealt with by the clerk. So it comes under this committee, and the budget got increased because of it. But I think there's only so much we can do. We don't fund staff normally, do we, in other areas? So it was something that was just so important that we felt it needed some funding.
Oh, I remember the meeting.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
And the debates.
Yeah, good.
I think the funding increases come from Cheshire is just based on staff pay awards and national insurance increases, etc.
It's not gone up hugely, has
So
it?
it's that's what the increase.
Yeah. So just to clarify, so for reassurance, everything that's on here will be covered by an SLA, where I clearly define the responsibilities of each party. I get regular evaluation, 6 monthly evaluation. Every agreement we have is always subject to evaluation. So if an evaluation came in and we didn't think it was value for money, we could pull it at any point. So even though it's a 3-year agreement, it's reviewed annually.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a proposal on
So
this.
we got a proposal for the 24
approve it.
or 25, 26 business plan.
So
delivery plan,
second,
sorry.
yeah. So
You got that?
approved. So that will go to full council for formal approval.
And all in
This
favour?
month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all approved.
Um,
Okay, so,
So, yeah, once again, thanks, Jackie. Moving on to item number 10. To note the proposed date of the next meeting for Tuesday, the 27th of May at 6 p.m.
okay,
Got that? Yeah.
thank you.
I'd
So
quite like to close the meeting if that's okay.